In this video, I'm going to cover all the methods for granting players weapons in Fortnite Creative. We're going to start with just the basics and end with how to grant a totally random loadout for each player that spawns in. Don't worry if you're new, this tutorial is for all skill levels, so let's just get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover the settings. I'm not going to show you every setting. I'm just going to show you the settings you need to know and you may manipulate for granting players weapons off of spawn. So head over to your inventory under your My Island game settings. The first setting we're going to talk about is spawn limit. This is all going to depend on what type of game mode you are doing. So for instance, like a zone wars or box fights, maybe they're just going to have one life. So once they're eliminated, they're done. Or if it's like a red versus blue or any other type of respawn game mode, are they going to be able to keep respawning? That's something you need to think about when you're granting these players weapons. The next thing you need to think about is join in progress. If the game is already started and a player match makes in, do you want them to be able to play? Should they just start spectating until the game's over, or should they spawn on the next round? Again, this is all stuff you need to think about when you're granting players weapons, and also choosing one of the 3 methods I'm about to show you to grant these players weapons when they spawn in. Next, we're going to head over to the settings tab, and we're going to talk about infinite ammo, infinite consumables, and infinite resources. Now, if you're doing a zone wars or box fights, maybe you don't want to give infinite ammo, or maybe you do, that's going to be right here. But if you do have this setting on, then you're not going to have to worry about adding ammo to any of these devices. The same goes for infinite resources. Maybe you want them to be able to build nonstop. You don't want to worry about how many mats they have. Then you can set this to on. Or if you want to have defined sets of mats for maybe a box fight or zone wars, and you don't want to leave that off. And again, I'm going to show you how to give specific mats weapons later on in the video, so stick with me. And infinite consumables, that's just any health item. That's again going to be up to you. I don't really see a lot of use cases where you're going to want to leave this on. The last setting I'm going to go over is eliminated players items. This decides what happens to all of their items after they're eliminated, whether that be they're dropped just like in BR, or if you have like a zone wars, again, you might want to leave this to dropped. The next option is keep, even though they're eliminated, like a red versus blue or a respawn type game mode where they're maybe ranking up their weapons, things like that. You might want to leave this to keep. And then the last option is delete, where after they're eliminated, it's going to get rid of their whole inventory. This could be useful, but something to remember, if you have like a crafting system or using other world resources or things you're trying to save to keep track of maybe their inventory, if you set this to delete after they're eliminated, it's going to remove all of that. So just be aware of that. All right, let's start granting our players weapons. All right, so for the first way to grant players weapons off of spawn is the tried and true old school method. It's been here since like the beginning of creative, and that is the team settings and inventory trap. If you go into your inventory under devices, you will find this device. You equip it and you just throw it down. It's that simple. This device is very versatile. You can customize a lot of different in-game settings, or even customize settings per team. We're going to leave this to all for now. And while I'm talking about this, I highly recommend you don't adjust the settings in this device unless you truly understand what it does, and rather go to the main menu under My Island game and settings tab and change the settings here if you can. This just may save a lot of headaches down the road. Just an FYI. Now that we're out of the way, honestly, I haven't changed any settings. We just basically place this down, get on top of it, and throw all of your items you want to spawn with. All right, as you see, I have all my items. I'm just dropping it on top of it. It's going to pick it up or eat it. Basically looks like it's just eating it. Once you see them all collected, start your game. As you can see, we have the items in our inventory. We have everything. Anyone that also spawned in on this island would get this as well. It's very easy to set up and use, but this way has its limitations. And that's what's going to bring us to method number 2, which is a class designer. To find your class designer, go into your inventory under devices, grab it, place it down. Now, the class designer is pretty similar to the team setting and inventory trap, but instead of being able to change things by teams, you can set it up by class. This device now has a total of 16 class identifiers. Epic, we need more. And within these classes, you can also change a bunch of different settings, just like the team setting inventory trap. What's also great with this device is if you pair it with a class selector, as long as you have the class to switch to and the class identifier set to match, when the game starts, if someone hovers into this circle, it's going to grant them that class. Or you can even set this up to change their class and grant them weapons from a channel. We're not going to actually use this method to grant them, but I just wanted to show you what the difference is. The biggest difference also when using a class designer is it gives us more filter options. So for anyone that is new, if you check out like a trigger device or a mutator device, there's a lot of different devices. You're going to actually see, if you're under all options, things that allow classes or class filtering, right? This is very important while setting up different mechanics or to achieve different things, and it's something to note, but this is one of the biggest reasons why you would want to use this method. Another great thing about this is the old team setting inventory trap. You could not copy and paste, but you can copy and paste this device, which again makes things just so much easier and faster. Now, to use this device, it's very similar to the team settings and inventory trap. You just walk up to it and you just drop all your weapons and items on top of it. As you see, after you start dropping it in, it's going to collect them. Now, once it's grabbed all of your items you dropped on top of it, interact with it. And this class identifier, choose a free one you have. We're just going to use one for this instance. Go back into your settings, My Island Game, look for default class identifier and set this to the number that you just set up. So we set it up to 1. Now, when we start the game, we are going to spawn with everything we just added into it. Pretty cool. Again, pretty easy. Obviously, this one does have a little bit of a limitation where you're still stuck with granting players a limited/selected loadout. Nothing's random, which brings us into method number 3, which is granting players totally random loadouts at the start of each round or game. The first thing you're going to need to do is go back into your inventory. Under your device tab, look for your item granter. Let's place this down. Walk up to it and interact with it. Copy these settings. On grant action, you're going to keep all, grant all items, turn give extra ammo to no, cycle behavior to wrap, drop item player location, turn that to no, and then grant item, pick a free channel you have. We're just going to use channel 1. And we're technically done. Now, this item granter we're setting up is going to be for mats and ammo. This actually is going to not be random. This is going to grant everything inside of this device to all the players if they join in progress or at the start of the game. So we're just going to add ammo and mats. And there you have it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually set up the random loadout portion. What you need to do is just grab this same device, put it on grid snap 2. It'll probably make it a lot easier. Place it down, then interact with it. Change grant to current item, grant condition to only if not owned, then grant item when receiving from. Put that back to no channel, and then find cycle to random and put that to 1. Last thing we're going to do to this is you're going to interact with it again. Find this cog on the bottom left here and clear the items. That's just going to get rid of all the items inside of it. Now we're almost ready to add weapons and items. But first, what we're going to do, we're going to copy this 4 more times. And we have 5 item granters right here, which represents a slot in your bottom right inventory. In the past, we had to set this up in order and sequence on how you wanted their loadouts to be in order. So if you want shotgun or AR first or health in certain items, but recently they've added preferred item slots. This thing lets you automatically set up where you want your items or guns to go, what slot, and it will remember, so we don't have to do that anymore. Yay! And the last little tip I want to show you before we add our weapons is a really cool website that shows you the current loot pool that is in BR right now. So at the Fortnite.fandom.com wiki, I will leave a little link in the description if you guys want to check this out. You can scroll down and you can actually see all the weapons and items that are in BR currently. This thing is awesome if you want to make sure your map is current with the BR meta, just an FYI. All right, for the first slot, we're going to use ARs. So go into your inventory under weapons, and these filter categories are your friend. Let's click assault rifle. And let's just add a bunch of different assault rifles. And we'll just drop them in here. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to add shotguns. Next one, we'll add SMGs. Now your last 2 can be health and utility, or maybe a sniper rifle, stuff like that. Go under consumables. This one will add for health. Something I do want to note, now the amount of the health item or the utility item you have does matter. So for instance, we have 2 minis. If you had 10 minis and you just threw them all in here, it's going to give every person, if they get this selected randomly, 10 minis. You probably don't want that. So just be mindful of that. I'm only going to drop 2 minis in here, and the rest is going to be 1. Our last one, we're going to add some utility items. Let's add some grenades, a clinger, maybe an impulse. And again, I probably just want only 2 of these. So I'm going to filter and make sure I only drop a small amount. And pretty much our loadout now we have set up. We have one last thing we have to do, and that is we have to add a way to grant these items when a player does spawn in. Go into your inventory, under your devices, grab the timer device and place it down. Now interact with it and copy these settings. Your first duration, let's put this to 1 second. Start timer at game start, put that to on. Applies to player. Visible during game to no. Show on HUD to no. Auto load save data to off. Turn off the auto effects. If instigating player is not present, put that to use empty instigation. And then go all the way down here and on success, transmit on channel 1 or whatever free channel you set up for all your item granters over here. All right, now let's start the game. Let's see what happens. So about 1 second or less, you see we got a totally randomized kit here. All the health items, all the ammo and mats though aren't random. This is exactly what we put in that device, remember? Let me end the game, start it again so you can see that this is totally random. And again, after 1 second, we got a totally randomized loadout. It's really simple. It's that easy. Last thing about this method does work for join in progress too if you have that set up. So keep that in mind. And something I do want to make a quick note, if in matchmaking you're noticing sometimes players aren't getting weapons or something like that, there could be like a time delay issue, and it's an easy fix. Just go back to this timer device and make the duration to 2 or 3 seconds maybe on that game start. And that's to fix your issue. All right, I hope this video really helped you all out. Please hit that like button and also subscribe with notifications on if you want to see more videos like this. If you at any point had issues with this tutorial, please check out my Discord, Creative Juice. It's a Discord for Fortnite creators of all skill levels to get help and promote their maps and to hang out and meet other creators. It's really an awesome space. It also has some other benefits as well. I'll leave a link to that Discord in the description. I'm Immature. I'm out.